Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Remember, for all of your film, television, Oscars content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because today I will be doing my post-Barbenheimer Oscar predictions. I said that I wouldn't have any predictions for you until I had some meaningful updates, and I have. After seeing Oppenheimer, Barbie, a bunch of new trailers, a lot of news regarding the Toronto International Film Festival and the Venice Film Festival. I have a lot of things to talk about today, and I have changed my predictions quite a bit. So let's get into it. Also, I'll just quickly let you know that I'm only going to be going into the major categories, or what I consider to be the major categories. There'll be no talk on the text or craft categories. I really want to talk more about that when I have a ton more information and I've seen even more films, because it's really hard to judge what's going to do well in score or cinematography, production design, all those things until I see the film for myself. So after having seen Oppenheimer, right now it is clearly the front runner. I think that this could potentially sweep a number of categories. It is of course a huge tech player. That wasn't going to be a surprise to anyone, being a Christopher Nolan film. But you can tell that Nolan is really hungry for that Oscar. I don't think that he intended to make this as an Oscar baity type of film, but the source material and what it's going for is going to lend itself to being that regardless. Number 2, I have Dune Part 2, my former number 1. There are rumors of this being potentially delayed due to the WGA and SAG strikes that are happening right now. Hopefully not, because this is my most anticipated film of the year. This is obviously going to do well in a number of tech categories. It remains to be seen whether the Academy Awards have something against Denis Villeneuve here, because I think that he could be a lock for a director's nomination here, and it could win a number of categories. Number 3, Killers of the Flower Moon. We all know Martin Scorsese's next film. This is obviously going to get nominated for a bunch of categories. It's going to do extremely well. Number 4, a placement I don't think has changed here, for Past Lives. I think that it's pretty solid in this spot. I don't really see it going up or down unless they campaign the hell out of it in the later end of the year. But I think that this is going to do fairly well and is going to have that A24 representation at the Oscars. And number 5, the international feature that always gets nominated for Best Picture. I have Anatomy of a Fall filling this slot. I think that this being added to the TIFF lineup just shows that they're very serious about campaigning this and showing this to as many people as possible for a potential huge Oscar campaign. And I really think that that's going to knock it up as more and more people see it, because from what I hear, it's a pretty compelling film. At number 6, I have The Zone of Interest, the latest from Jonathan Glazer. As I said in my previous predictions video, this seems something similar to Tar, where you have a director that works on real critically acclaimed films but doesn't make them often. And I think The Zone of Interest is going to have a similar pathway to what Tar had. But this could drop down as we get later into the year, because it's hard to tell whether this is just going to be a critical darling or it's going to do well with audiences. The audience reactions and how people kind of feel about this film will be very instrumental in terms of getting this a Best Picture nomination, I think. Number 7, I have Barbie. I think that this has a pretty solid shot of making it into Best Picture. Not only is it because of the fact that this is doing well with a lot of audiences, there's clearly a ton of passion behind this film, which helps a lot in terms of getting your Best Picture nomination. This is also going to make a metric shit ton of money. This might be $1 billion film, which is overperforming on all of the projections that anyone had before this film released. So I think that is all going to help it solidify its chances of getting nominated. Number 8, I have Maestro. This film right now is kind of on the fringe for a lot of categories for me, because I feel like it could go either way. I actually think that this probably could do well at the Oscars. I think that it looks like it's going to be a promising movie from Bradley Cooper, and it's going to have a great central performance in there. But it remains to be seen whether this is actually going to be an excellent film or not, because I've heard from test screenings and things like that this might be a little bit more of a mixed bag, which will definitely hurt its chances. Number 9, I have The Color Purple. Honestly, My thoughts towards this film and my confidence in it being nominated in a ton of categories is just waning by the day. The trailer didn't do too much to impress me. I think that it could do well in a couple of categories. And right now, I still have it in the tail end of getting nominated for Best Picture. But I don't think it's going to last if a couple of films that come out of Venice, TIFF, Berlin draw a ton of passion. I think it could easily get knocked out of this 10 pretty quickly. At number 10, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I really want this to get nominated, but I just have no confidence in the Academy nominating an animated film, no matter how great it is at this stage. And as I've mentioned before, this is the second of a trilogy, but it's part one of this massive arc that they're trying to tell. And with it being kind of an incomplete story, that is definitely going to hurt its chances a lot, no matter how great it was or how much audiences enjoyed it. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if this got snubbed on nomination day, but I really hope that it can, because we haven't seen an animated film this good probably since the last Spider-Verse movie. At number 11, I have The Holdovers. This has actually gone up quite a bit from my previous projections because I saw the trailer and it looks fairly decent. I had no confidence in Alexander Payne making a big Oscar player after making something like Downsizing, which was just a terrible movie. So he has that in him. He can make a bad movie here, but the trailer looked promising enough. It seems pleasant and Oscar baity enough. It doesn't seem like the type of film that's going to have huge passion behind it. I feel like it'll be something that people will enjoy, and then a year from now, people are going to forget about it. But sometimes those movies get into the Academy Awards. It looks decent enough. Paul Giamatti in the trailer looks pretty good. So I think it has a shot, but it's still on the outside for me personally. At number 12, I have Air, because kind of like The Color Purple, my confidence in it getting nominated is just waning by the day as we're getting more and more Oscar players starting to enter the fold. I really think that this is going to slip as we continue throughout the year, because they kind of campaigned this film way too early. They released it really early in the year. I don't know if they thought that this would be an Oscar player, but it still has a chance if they really campaign it at the back end of the year. But I really don't know with this one. Number 13, Saltburn. This one could really rise quickly. The new film from Emerald Fennell. She directed Promising Young Woman, which got into the lineup a couple of years ago. And from what we're hearing in terms of them hyping the film up, this could be a step up from Promising Young Woman, which, if it is the case, it's definitely going to get into the lineup pretty quickly. Number 14, Napoleon. I saw the trailer for this. This does look pretty good. But with Ridley Scott, it's really hard to confidently predict a film of his to be in a Best Picture lineup. The last two films he released both tried to get into this lineup and failed, with House of Gucci being a colossal failure and The Last Duel being a box office bomb, even though it was a pretty great film. Napoleon looks to follow the footsteps of The Last Duel, and the fact that we're following a pretty iconic historical figure might give this a bigger boost at the box office and more people watching it. But it's really hard to tell at this stage. We need to wait and see the audience reaction, the critical response, and how well this is going to do at the box office, because the trailer itself looks pretty great, but you need more than that to get nominated for Best Picture. Number 15, I have Poor Things. I would like this to get nominated, and it looks amazing. I'm really excited to see it. I really like the style that Yorgos Lanthimos is presenting for this film here, but the Academy just don't like weirdness. They don't like something that's really out of the box, unique, and can be a little bit silly. I don't think that every single person is going to love this movie either, because of how weird it is. Some people just don't vibe with that, and that's perfectly fine. The Academy tend to follow that line of thinking, which makes me believe that this won't really be an Oscar player, despite the fact that Yorgos Lanthimos has been nominated for Academy Awards before. Number 16, I have Next Goal Wins. This got announced at TIFF, and it's the new Taika Waititi film. What more is there to say? I think that this is going to be a pretty funny movie. It looks like it's going to be fun. As I've mentioned before, a lot of people really downplay what Taika can do after Thor Love and Thunder released. But that was one dud of a movie. He can keep going and making excellent films. Just because he had one bad one does not mean that his entire career is ruined from here on in. I think Next Girl Wins looks like it's going to be a fantastic movie. It might take a lot of people by surprise at TIFF. I think that it's going to fare well with audiences, the humor, and just the charming nature of his movies really help in that regard. So this could get a boost too when we get through TIFF. Number 17, I have Dumb Money, another film that got announced at TIFF. This one, I really don't know. This is trying to capture the feelings of something like The Big Short, that kind of aesthetic. And that can really work if it's executed well, but if it's not, it just comes across annoying, kind of preachy, and just doesn't really work too well with too many people. Dumb Money could go either way. I think it's actually more leaning towards the annoying side than the good side. But the fact that they're making a film already about that whole controversy, I guess, that happened with GameStop stock and everything that happened there, I'm really interested to see how the film will play out and know a little bit more about that story and the people that were involved. But yeah, it's really hard to tell whether this is going to be great or just not that great. To be honest, out of TIFF, I feel like it's going to hover around the 50s to 60s on Metacritic. 18, I have The Boy and the Heron, the new Miyazaki film of Studio Ghibli fame. This probably is going to connect with a lot of audience members premiering at TIFF as well. I think that this is going to set the tone of the festival really well for a lot of people that are going, and there probably will be a lot of people floating the word masterpiece around when this comes out. This could do well in the animated category, international category. It could get a number of nominations that could get it into Best Picture, but it really needs to do well, and it also has the fact that it's an animated film holding it back. Number 19, The Killer, the new film from David Fincher. I'm, of course, extremely excited for this movie. I believe this one's premiering at Venice, so we'll have to wait and see how that one does. But just because of the genre that this is kind of playing into, I really don't see this as being an Oscar contender. It's more one that a lot of people just really love, and it just doesn't go beyond that. At number 20, May December, the latest from Todd Haynes. This did well out of Cannes. It had a pretty great reception. However, he's also made Dark Waters, which did kind of well in terms of a critical response, but it got nothing in terms of Oscar love. So it could be the same here. I think that this will do slightly better than that, but I really don't see this as a massive player for Best Picture. Following my Best Picture prediction for Oppenheimer, I think Christopher Nolan finally gets his Oscar for Oppenheimer. It'll be a really well-deserved Academy Award for him because this combines a very complex narrative with some brilliant technical filmmaking, a great screenplay, great performances. It's just a culmination of all of these brilliant elements just put together, and I really think that that's just going to lead towards Nolan finally getting the respect he deserved from the Academy. Number 2, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, I really see a similar path to what this had with The Irishman, even if this could be better or the genre might be a lot more enjoyable than The Irishman or accessible. But I still see this getting nominated for a bunch of stuff, Martin Scorsese being there, but not winning a damn thing. Number 3, Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. I'm a little bit more mixed on this than what I was in my first predictions, just because my confidence in him getting that nomination just wanes by the day because Dune Part 1 didn't get him a nomination for director, which was a damn shame, but it just makes me think that the Academy might not be a huge fan of Villeneuve in his vision for Dune in some ways, which is really strange because it gets nominated for all these things, it wins all of these awards, but it's just strange that he's the one that misses out because it really is his vision, and a lot of these things would not come if it wasn't for his direction. So it's a bit strange, but hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it's a possibility. Number 4, Celine Song for Past Lives. This could end up sliding out just because this is a real screenplay movie, but with how well it's connected with so many people, I think that Celine Song might get in there. Number 5, Greta Gerwig for Barbie. Now, she could get knocked out pretty quickly, but my reasoning for having her as a nominee potentially at this next Academy Awards is just the passion that Barbie has behind it. Her last venture in Little Women definitely had passion behind it too, but not as much as this. And I really think that that's just going to get her over the line in terms of getting that nomination. However, they did snub her for Little Women. She did get nominated for Lady Bird, so the Academy aren't completely against her style of filmmaking. So I can definitely see it happening, but she definitely is on the fringe there because I can see it being a world where she gets snubbed again. Number 6, I have Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. This seems like it's telling a very experimental style of filmmaking with its story, so that could definitely get him up in terms of getting a nomination. But going back into what I was saying before, I don't know how many people that this is going to really connect with, and there's going to be people really enjoying it. So it's really hard for me to say that he's getting in for sure for director, especially when films like Barbie that have just come out have so much passion behind it. Number 7, Alexander Payne for The Holdovers. This looks like it has a pretty interesting style. It looks like it's shot like a 90s film, either on 35 or 16 millimeter. It's got that real grainy look to it, which I really love. And just having those stylistic choices could be enough to get him in, especially if this is loved by a bunch of people. Number 8, Blitz Bazawuli for The Color Purple. Once again, I really don't see this doing too well because this is also being made previously by Steven Spielberg. So that's a lot to live up to in terms of recreating a lot of the stuff that he did. He's a great filmmaker, and that's a lot to live up to. So it's hard for me to really see a world where Blitz does a better job than Steven Spielberg here. At number 9, Bradley Cooper for Maestro. This has some pretty interesting stylistic choices. It looks like the whole thing's going to be black and white, which is really cool. But he also got snubbed for A Star Is Born, which was a fantastic movie. And there were a lot of other categories that were nominated for that film, including Best Picture, and he didn't get in. So we have to wait and see there. Number 10, Ridley Scott for Napoleon. On its best day, I do think that Ridley Scott has a chance to get nominated for Napoleon. It is that type of film. But there's also that world where this just doesn't do too well with a ton of people and he doesn't get in. Best Original Screenplay. I think that this doesn't seem like the strongest category this year from just the list of films that could be competing. For the Oscar though, I have Past Lives getting in just because it looks like it's going to be getting a Best Picture nomination practically from the power of its screenplay alone, and that's saying a lot. So I really think that it needs to take that win if it wants to be a strong contender for Best Picture, and I honestly think it will in terms of the nominees that we could be getting this year. Number 2, Anatomy of a Fall. It seems like a real strong courtroom drama. Obviously, having a really good screenplay is instrumental in terms of creating a good courtroom drama. So I think that this is almost a lock to get nominated. Number 3, Saltburn. Emerald Fennell won with Promising Young Woman in this category, so I don't really see why she couldn't be a pretty strong contender for Saltburn. Number 4, May December. It looks like a strong screenplay movie from Todd Haynes. I think that this could also get in. And number 5, The Holdovers. It looks like it has a lot of that comedic charm that the Academy likes in terms of films like Green Book or something along those lines, which could get it in just on that charm alone. Number 6, I have Maestro. Like I said, kind of on the fringe. If it has a lot of passion, does really well at Venice, I don't see why not in terms of getting a nomination. Definitely can. Just gotta wait and see what the reaction is to that film. Number 7, I have Air. If it's going to get in for any category, it'd probably be this one. Number 8, Napoleon. Once again, on its best day, it could get in. Number 9, Monster. This is just kind of hanging on the fringe. I really don't see it getting in there, but it's a possibility. It seems like this is a lot more love than Coriolis Lost in Broker, so that could give him a better shot of getting nominated here, but I really don't see it. And number 10, Asteroid City, purely off the fact that Wes Anderson has been nominated in this category before, and there might be enough passion there to get him in terms of a nomination, but this seems like it's one of his more mixed films in a while, so maybe not. Adapted screenplay, once again, I'm going Oppenheimer. I think at this stage, it is just such a clear frontrunner. I don't think that too many films have too much of a case in terms of beating Oppenheimer. We might get something that comes out during one of those festivals or at the back end of the year, but right now, Oppenheimer to me is just such a dominant frontrunner, and it could win screenplay here for sure. It's a very talky movie, and the dialogue is so compelling and just grips you from the minute that this film starts. It captures that massive epic feel to it without really having too many explosions or big epic scale. So that is just a credit to the power of this screenplay and the fact that it makes you feel something. As I mentioned in my review for Oppenheimer, I said I was utterly devastated by the end of this film. And yeah, sure, the cinematography and the editing, a lot of these technical elements played into that. But the screenplay is the backbone behind all of that. And what a great screenplay. I think that this could be a well-deserved Academy Award win for Oppenheimer. Number 2, Killers of the Flower Moon. Another probably dialogue-heavy Martin Scorsese film. I don't really see this having too much janky dialogue. It's going to be a pristine, well-made film. But to me, that's what stops him from winning a lot of these categories. Yes, while a lot of us can appreciate the fact that Martin Scorsese is a legendary filmmaker and his films are just really well crafted, it just doesn't seem to have that heart to it, for lack of a better word, that really makes a ton of people really passionate about what he does. We haven't seen a film like that from him maybe since The Wolf of Wall Street, where he just had a wave of passion for it. So it's really hard to see Killers of the Flower Moon overcoming that in terms of what I've seen from the trailer. Number 3, Dune Part 2. The first one got nominated in this category, so I don't see why the second one wouldn't. Number 4, Barbie. I think that this has a better chance of being nominated for screenplay than director. I think that Barbie getting nominated here could be a lock, just judging off the fact that it has done so well. And it's a little bit more deeper than just a fun little comedy. So having those social commentary elements and talking about feminism and all those things, aspects that the Academy likes having in their films. So I can see this getting in off having just a thematically rich screenplay there. Number 5, The Zone of Interest. I think that experimental form of storytelling may shine through more in its screenplay than its direction. It's hard to tell without seeing the movie, but that's just what I'm kind of gauging from what I've seen in terms of reactions. Number 6, The Color Purple. Definitely on its best day it could get in, but it's just hard to judge right now. Number 7, Poor Things. I think this is going to be pretty well written. Yorgos Lanthimos is a great writer, great director, and it seems like it has some real witty dialogue to it from the trailer. But once again, just having these weird kind of experimental concepts that it wants to play with just might not do too well with Academy voters. Number 8, Dumb Money. I think on its best day it does get nominated if it just follows that Big Short route. But as I said, I think it could get a mixed reaction, so it's going to hold it back quite a bit. Number 9, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think that if this is a real dominant Best Picture player, it might get nominated either here or in direction. But it just doesn't seem like it's going to go that way, especially when we have all these other films that we're just so happy to see. Spider-Man might get pushed to the wayside in terms of Academy votes. Number 10, Next Goal Wins. Once again, on its best day, I can see this getting nominated and following the exact path that Jojo Rabbit had. And to me, it does seem like it's following that path. It looks like it's going to be telling just a poignant story. It's going to have a lot of comedy. It's going to have a little bit of drama. And I think that it'll all come together really well. I hope it does anyway, because I am excited for this film. Okay, for lead actor, I am not changing my prediction from what I did a month ago. Cillian Murphy, I think, gets in after seeing Oppenheimer. I actually think that no one is going to top this at all. I think that it is such a breakout performance for him in a Nolan film. The campaign has been good with him kind of not campaigning at all. He's just letting his reputation do the work. And honestly, I think that just the performance alone will go down as probably the best of the year. It was powerful. He takes up a ton of screen time and he does not miss once. So I really think it's going to be hard for someone to top Cillian Murphy here. Number 2, however, Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. I guess if anyone can do it, it's Leo. He is a fantastic actor. He's probably my favorite actor of all time. And if he is giving a career high, which some people are saying that he does in this film, that's also going to be pretty tough to beat because, I mean, to top Leo's best, that is a remarkable achievement. Number 3, Bradley Cooper in Maestro. It's going to be a real transformational performance. I think he gets in easily, but I don't really see him topping the 2 performances above him right now. Number 4, Coleman Domingo for Rustin. This film could also be mixed, but it could be one of those films where he gets in and nothing else does. Number 5, Barry Keoghan for Saltburn. I'm hearing in terms of, once again, these people hyping it up, that he gives a really great performance. And I find that pretty easy to believe because he's a great actor. He always turns out a great performance. And Carey Mulligan, being a lead in Emerald Fennell's last film, got in and almost won by an absolute hair. I think she was really close to winning Best Actress, but just missed out. Barry Keoghan could definitely get in. Number 6, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I think this is going to be one of those performances that are really funny, and then by the end of the film, it turns really dramatic and maybe sad. And just that alone could get it in, but once again, I really still don't believe in The Holdovers. I need to see the movie for myself before I make that final judgment call. But just from the trailer and just my own speculation, I think that this could get into a couple of categories, sure, but I don't think that it's as serious as a player as many people are making this out to be. Number 7, Kingsley Benadir for Bob Marley, One Love. I might have this out in terms of my next predictions because this could get either delayed or just being moved to a 2024 film. The trailer did say that this is coming out early 2024, but sometimes they have a limited run just in the back end of the year so it can qualify for the Academy Awards. This could follow the same route, but it's really unclear at this stage. Even so, the film from the trailer looked pretty generic and underwhelming for a Bob Marley film. This is a pretty iconic figure in music, and he led a pretty remarkable life that inspired many people. So if Kingsley Benadir can genuinely capture that in a great film, I think that he could be a top contender for sure. But the film doesn't look too great so far. Number 8, TUU for Past Lives. This is also hard to tell because I'm hearing murmurs that he could be campaigned in supporting. Let me know if that has been confirmed, but from what I can tell, it hasn't. So I'm going to stick him in lead for now. And I think that if he's in lead, he doesn't get nominated. If he's in supporting, he does get nominated. It's as simple as that. Number 9, Matt Damon for Air. I think it was a great performance. It was probably one of the best ones in the movie alongside Viola Davis. And that really isn't enough still for him to get nominated because I think that the 5 that I have are really solid. So it'll be hard to top that. Number 10, Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon. The thing that holds me back from putting it way up is the fact that he's still got an American accent. He's playing an iconic French figure. And I think him doing an American accent was pretty disappointing. It just seems like a bit of a strange choice. So I think that's going to hold it back quite a bit because I don't think too many people are going to agree with that when we see the film. Best Lead Actress, I'm sticking with Greta Lee for Past Lives because the film is acclaimed. We know that a ton of people love it. Performance has been praised endlessly, so I don't see why she shouldn't be the front runner right now. Number 2, Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. She seems to be the one that could overtake Greta Lee, but I think it depends on how well the movie does. However, if she is powerful enough, I hear from the play she's really great, that translates well to the film, she could take that number 1 slot, but right now I need to see it to believe it. Number 3, Margot Robbie for Barbie. She could drop out in the future. I think a lot of people might not be predicting her or have her on the edge. But I think that if Barbie does well at the Academy Awards, it'd be just really strange if the person playing Barbie does not get nominated. It'd just be a weird choice. So I think that she comes along for the package. Number 4, Emma Stone for Poor Things. She could definitely drop out, as I said. Poor Things looks like a weird as hell movie, and the Academy don't like that. But the performance from Emma Stone, from what I'm seeing, looks fantastic, almost irresistible. So she could still get in despite how weird it is. Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, probably giving a powerful performance. That's all I have to say there. Number 6, Natalie Portman from May December. I hear the performance is great. Number 7, I really want to talk about Kaylee Spaney, I believe it is, for Priscilla. I think that this could potentially be the Blonde or Spencer of this year, where it's kind of a lone actress nomination and that's it. I think if the performance is really great in this film, it looks like it's going for a more artsy tone. Sofia Coppola is directing this film, and I believe she has had some pretty good luck at the Academy Awards with some of her films previously, so I think Kaylee might stand a good chance here of getting a nomination. The film could absolutely bomb, not do well, and she might just drop out entirely. But I do see a world where she just comes in as a lone nominee. Number 8, Carey Mulligan for Maestro. I hear there are going to be a couple of really showy scenes that she's going to be in. So she could definitely get in. But right now, I still don't see it. I think a lot of the shine will be going to Bradley Cooper. And Carey Mulligan might get forgotten about. Number 9, Kate Winslet for Lee. It's a war film, and she's Kate Winslet. She always delivers fantastic performances, so if she does that here, I don't see how she couldn't get nominated. Number 10, it's a pure wish list pick. This is not going to get nominated at all. I'm just going to say that now. Sophie Wilde for Talk to Me. I just want to give a shout out because she was phenomenal. One of my favorite lead actress performances of the entire year so far. But the Academy, being the Academy, will ignore horror completely and completely forget about this incredibly powerful performance. In my previous predictions, I did not have Robert Downey Jr. in there at all. But after seeing Oppenheimer, I think that it would be just impossible for him not to get nominated. I think that he stands the greatest chance of winning just because it's such a dramatic role. It was such a almost transformational performance, and it just did a great job of engaging you. It might be my favorite supporting performance of the year. It's hard to tell because there are a couple of great ones so far, but I really think he gets nominated and perhaps finally wins an Oscar, which would be just huge for him. Number 2, Ryan Gosling for Barbie. The Renaissance is here. If this is Ryan Gosling's first Oscar, I'd be pretty happy at that. I think it would be well deserved. One of the funniest performances I've seen in a couple of years now, so I think it's more than deserving of a nomination. I think it's so charming, and I really hope he gets in. And I think he does. I think it really is right now the Barbenheimer race in this category. And I think Robert Downey Jr. takes it just because it's a dramatic, real thespian type of performance. While Ryan Gosling's he's not taking himself too seriously. He's having a good time. And the Academy, being as snobby as they are sometimes, they don't really respect comedy like they do drama. So that's my reasoning for Robert Downey Jr. taking it over Ryan Gosling. Number 3, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon. He could definitely get it too. I hear that he's great in this antagonistic role, so it's definitely possible. Number 4, Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. I think, yes, wacky and everything like that, but Mark Ruffalo looks pretty funny in this role, and a lot of people are going to probably really love his performance. Number 5, John Magaro for Past Lives. I think that from what I've heard since my last predictions video, that he's probably a lock to get in. I'm pretty confident in this 5, to be honest with you. So John Magaro, I think, definitely gets in for Past Lives. Number 6, Ben Affleck for Air. If it campaigns well, I think he might get in. Number 7, Coleman Domingo for The Color Purple. Definitely could get in. He's a great actor, so if The Color Purple does well on its best day, he might get in. Jesse Plemons for Killers of the Flower Moon. In a world where the Academy really loved that film and it does extremely well, he might get in. Kind of similar to his Power of the Dog performance, but I don't think that he gets in this time for that. Number 9, Austin Butler for Dune Part 2. I just want to kind of open your mind to maybe having that performance nominated. If this captures the essence of what this character could be, we could be looking at a really powerful antagonist in this film. It probably won't be on the level of the Dark Knight Joker or anything like that. I don't want to make that comparison by any means. But if he's memorable enough and does a fantastic job and is this standout, I don't see why not. And from what I'm hearing from people who have read the book and everything, he's a very dangerous character, very interesting character. So I'd really love to see what Austin Butler's going to do here in Dune Part 2. Number 10, Charles Melton for May December. He could be a contender. I do hear great things from his performance, and if May December does well, he could get in for sure. For Best Supporting Actress, I have Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that she takes it. She's going to sweep the entire category. It seems like she has a ton of screen time, and it's really impactful. She has great narrative behind her winning, so I just don't see a world where she doesn't take it home here. Number 2, Danielle Brooks from The Color Purple. I hear that in the play that this character has a really great performance. I believe that it's played by the same actress. So if it translates well to the film, I don't see how it doesn't take it. Number 3, after seeing Oppenheimer, I actually think Emily Blunt stands a pretty good chance of getting nominated. It was a great performance. It might not be some people's favorite performance in the film, but I think it serves the movie really well, which is what you want in a supporting performance. Number 4, it's hard to tell whether this is going to be campaigned in lead or supporting, but right now I have Vanessa Kirby in supporting, and I think that she could get in for Napoleon. I hear that she has a lot of screen time in this film, and from the trailer, it looks like she's going to be giving a pretty commanding performance that's going to draw our attention. So I think if there's going to be any category that Napoleon stands a chance in, it could be this one. Number 5, Julianne Moore for May December. I hear it's a really meaty performance and she has some great moments. So I think that she could definitely get in. At number 6, I have Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple. I don't see a world where both of them get nominated unless the Academy really love this movie and it gets nominated for a ton of stuff. But as I said, I don't really believe in it doing too well. So I think it's gonna miss a couple of categories and a couple of people might miss out. I think Taraji P. Henson might get snubbed here. Number 7, Viola Davis for Air. Earlier in the year, I think that she could have got nominated because I think it's one of the best performances in that movie. But as this year's progressing, I just think that she's just falling behind. Number 8, Rosamund Pike for Saltburn. Could definitely shoot up for sure. Rosamund Pike is a fantastic actress. Depends on what she's doing in this role that justifies her getting a nomination here. Number 9, I have America Ferrera for Barbie, just because she does have a scene where she goes on a massive monologue, and some people find it really powerful, other people find it cringy, but if it connects with enough voters, it could definitely get in for sure. She's definitely visible enough to potentially get a nomination for Barbie. And number 10, kind of a wish list pick again, Zendaya for Dune Part 2. I think she's a fantastic actress that is deserving of a nomination at some point just because she's always putting out great work. And the fact that Chani will most likely be in this film a lot more than in Dune Part 1, she probably has a lot more moments to shine. So I think it could be a possibility depending on how impactful of a performance she gives. For international feature, I'll probably be a bit quick here because it's hard to tell what's going to get in, what country is going to submit what. But number 1, I have Anatomy of a Fall, changing from my zone of interest pick because I think a lot more people are going to connect with that film more than the zone of interest, where it's more experimental and maybe taking the pacing a little bit more slow. Anatomy of a Fall being a tad more accessible could be enough to get it that Best Picture win. It's not always the most critically acclaimed film that wins. Sometimes it's just one that connects with Academy voters more. And I think Anatomy of a Fall, being a courtroom drama, having a lot of those dramatic elements to it, probably great editing, great performances, all of that stuff, it probably could get the win here. Now going to number 3, The Boy and the Heron, I think that this could be a lock too. It could be just another tribute nomination for Miyazaki. And if this is truly a powerful film, which some people have said it is from those early Japanese screenings, I don't see why not. Number 4, Evil Does Not Exist. I want to draw your attention to this one because this is the new film from Ryusuke Hamaguchi, the director of Drive My Car, which won in this category and got nominated for Best Picture about 2 years ago now. So his latest film is nothing to scoff at. I think that it could definitely get in. Number 5, Monster, I think gets in, unlike what Broker did. But once again, it really depends on what countries are submitting what. I'm a little bit confused in terms of what could be put forward and what couldn't, because a lot of those films could really miss depending on how that turns out. I really think what I mentioned in my video talking about this rule at the beginning of this year is highly relevant today. Countries that have a really great output of films each and every year should have more films to choose from, hands down. My animated feature category has changed only slightly. Number 1, I still have Across the Spider-Verse. I think it wins. It's going to be sweeping every single category. I think even if The Boy and the Heron does really, really well, I still don't think it's going to be good enough to overtake Across the Spider-Verse. There's just too much passion there. Number 3, however, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. A lot of reactions have come out, a lot of reviews have come out. It's reviewed incredibly well. It doesn't seem to be ripping off Spider-Verse as much as I personally thought it might be. So I think just the reactions that it's gotten is definitely enough to make it a safe choice to nominate. Number 4, I still have the Super Mario Brothers movie. I have now seen that movie, and I don't think it's that great, to be honest with you. But I think just because there's so much passion, and animated films don't always make $1 billion. I know that's not the be-all and end-all, but it's a pretty big achievement in this case. And I think it might be enough just to get a nomination and kind of shock some people. I do see a world where it doesn't get nominated because, as I said, it's not the most quality film out there. But because there's passion, because it's made a ton of money, it's nothing to scoff at. Number 5, Elemental. It kind of started doing pretty well in terms of later reactions. It kind of had some legs on it. So I think that might be enough to get it into the fold. I don't think it's Pixar's best by any means. I don't think many people are going to be saying that. And it's kind of just on the fringe, and it could get snubbed for sure. But in terms of the other contenders in this category, being a Pixar film and having that reputation might just be enough to get it into that 5. Number 6, Nimona. That has done really well with many people, so this could be the sleeper that overtakes Elemental for sure. Number 7, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. These types of movies always get nominated, so that also has a chance. I just think this animated category is really stacked that those two just might miss out. Number 8, Wish. I honestly don't think that this film is going to do too well. It doesn't look that great from what I've seen. So I think that this will miss completely. Number 9, Suzume. Academy just doesn't nominate anime pretty much ever. The Boy and the Heron is an exception because Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki are just so well respected with many audiences and have a reputation that some anime doesn't. It kind of gets locked into a box, kind of similar to horror or comedy. And that might be a shame because some great films miss out. And Suzume will be no exception. It will probably miss out here. Number 10, Spellbound. Could be a player, but I really don't think so. Anyway, those are my predictions at the middle of the year post Barbenheimer. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments below. What is your 10 for Best Picture right now? Who do you think is going to take home the prize? I really think with just this early momentum that Oppenheimer has built, the fact that it's exceeding expectations at the box office, it has a ton of passion behind it. It is probably the most well-made film to come out this year on a massive scale. I just don't see a world right now where it doesn't win. I think it's the clear-cut frontrunner, and unless we get a huge hit out of TIFF, Venice, Telluride, any of those festivals, or just a big sleeper end-of-the-year hit, I think Oppenheimer's a pretty safe pick right now. But let me know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.